Hey guys, what's up? My name is Rachel and welcome back to Auxhart Gardening. In case you haven't noticed and in case you missed my last video, I have moved and I've just set up one of my first two brand new gardens in this space. If you want to see the very first garden I set up, you'll have to go back and watch the previous video, but this video is all about how I took just plain lawn and turned it into this garden. So really the first thing that we had to do was till up the area. Now in general, I am all for no dig, no till gardening, but in this case with the combination of the really hard clay that we have here and the fact that there's an existing lawn, I felt that it was necessary to go ahead and till this one first time to initially prepare the garden space. However, as you will see in my previous video, I did do a section of garden where I did not till. I kind of just cleared out the area that I needed to physically plant the plants and left everything else around it. And I'm going to be curious to see how those plants do in comparison to this tilled garden. So my landlord came by with his tractor, super convenient, and he tilled up the area. In the process of tilling, of course, we turned up a lot of rocks and also a lot of other random trash. This is an old mill town that I've moved into, so there's been a lot of different stuff going on here over the years, and we found some very interesting objects. So after the garden was tilled, I needed to add compost on top. It took a few days to get the compost in, but I finally managed to get a truck of compost delivered. And the compost that I got, since I'm on a budget, I got half standard compost and half mushroom compost. So the standard compost was the cheaper stuff, the mushroom compost was the most expensive stuff, and I mixed the two because that's what I could afford. I ended up using 5 cubic yards of compost to cover this area and got between 1 and 2 inches of coverage over this whole area. With a wheelbarrow and some help, I managed to spread out the compost in just a few hours, and then it was time to mulch on top.
You done pushing dirt, babe?
I will never be done pushing dirt.
I think it looks pretty good. You tired?
That was so much work.
Yeah. You got a pitchfork. And now you can do the rest of the mulch pile you're standing on.
All by myself, right?
Yeah, no help.
So the mulch that I'm using in this garden is free, and that is inherently a risk. So near where I live is Clemson, and the city of Clemson collects people's trees and branches from their houses, trees they've cut down or trees that came down in storms, and they take all of that to the recycling center and then chip it up into a big pile that they then give back to the community as free mulch. Now, in general, I would expect that most of the stuff in this mulch pile is really all right. But given that it's free mulch and it's coming from just people's yards, there are some inherent risks involved. Things like you have no idea what they have sprayed on their trees, if they have, and also there's generally a little bit of random trash that ends up getting mixed in because people are a little gross. But what I found with this is it wasn't too bad because this is early in the summer. There is mostly trees that people have decided to cut down and not so much the Christmas tree crowd. And again, it's a risk. I don't know what's in it, but I spent my entire budget on compost. And so this year, in order to have the garden, I needed to make some compromises. Fast forward to the next day, and it's time to put up trellises and then put in plants. And so I had my friend Krista over to help me, and I had some cattle panels that I got from Tractor Supply I got this idea from Jess over at Roots and Refuge. I know several of y'all watch her, and I've seen her use these trellises for many years, and they're very affordable. And so these are 16-foot long cattle panels and T-posts that I'm using to hold up these trellises. Alright, so Krista and I just finished putting up all of these lovely trellises behind me. It was a lot of work, but way less work because my neighbor had a T-post driver. I was about to be out here with a sledgehammer, and that was not going to be a good time. So we got in all of the trellises, and it is finally time to plant the garden. This is Krista. I couldn't have done a lot of stuff here at the new house without her, and she's gonna help me plant the garden today. Because I'm a little lazy, the rest of this is gonna be a time lapse, so enjoy. So I'll just give you a general idea of what I planted because I'm gonna show you all in more detail in an upcoming garden tour. But basically along the flat trellis, I put all of my tomatoes. On the first arched trellis, I put some noodle beans, and then the second one back is cucumbers. Back behind the tomatoes is where we put all of the peppers, and then that one row running alongside the tomatoes is eggplant. And interspersed between all of that is some marigolds. And then between the trellises and the eggplant, I planted a row of bush beans. And I know somebody's going to ask in the comments what tool I'm using. I think this is called a dibber. A lot of times you can buy them in the store and they're like short and handheld. But this one I had my dad make after seeing Charles Dowding use something similar. He took an old table leg and put it on the lathe and just kind of shaved it down and put a handle on the top. That's all it is. And it's really great for making these little holes for not breaking your back, bending over to do every single one. So it took all day and a couple of rainstorms, but we got the garden planted. And now I am exhausted, so you guys are gonna see what everything is in an upcoming garden tour, hopefully after a lot of the seeds that I've put in have started to sprout. But with that, after 2 days of grueling labor that I am not used to, I finally have my garden in. Now, the last thing to figure out is how I'm going to water it all. Currently, I have a very long hose and a shower head on it, but I'm thinking that that won't fly with this. So if you have good ideas for me, keep in mind I am pulling water from 2 houses over, so I have a very long hose set up right now, but I am open to ideas for improving the watering system. And with that, thank you guys so much for watching. Until next time, I wish you all happy gardening.